Hey coders, welcome back to our SwiftUI series. Today we're diving into lists and navigation in SwiftUI. We'll start from scratch with a new project to create a dynamic list and learn how to navigate between views, and we'll even do a little mini demo on tab bar views as well. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, to begin, we are going to create a new project on Xcode. So we're going to select iOS app as our template here. We'll hit next. You can name it whatever you'd like. I'm going to call mine SwiftUI lists and navigation tests. Going to make sure that our interface is set to SwiftUI and our language to Swift. We can go ahead and save it in a spot that we'll remember. I just have a folder on my desktop with my Swift and Xcode examples. All right, cool. Now that we're in our sample project, let's go ahead and create an array, which is that list of data that we can use. So above our variable body sum view here and right under our structure, we can create a list, and we'll just say let items equals, and then we can go add some things. So I think today we'll kind of create a list of items, and maybe we'll kind of talk about some SwiftUI concepts in here. You can make your list whatever you want. So we're going to go ahead and add our first item. It's going to be a string, and we're going to say SwiftUI basics. To create another list item, you're just going to separate them with a comma. We'll say working with lists. We'll do navigation. Let's try my quotations, navigation, SwiftUI, and then maybe I'll just include another one like animations and SwiftUI, which is probably the one I will record after this one, which will be cool. Next, we can actually get rid of this VStack here along with the padding. We don't really need it, so let's go ahead and just delete that. And then we'll just have like nothing in our view here. Probably gonna get some errors, but don't worry about that. We're gonna go ahead and add a navigation stack. We're gonna add our brace, add a little bit of space. And here we're going to actually create a list. So it's going to take the array of items displayed in all those texts and display them in a view here. So we're gonna type list with a capital L. We're gonna add a bracket. And we're going to actually just type items. And now we need to add an ID. So what we can do for the ID is we're just going to basically say the ID is whatever that item is. We're going to actually use self. So we're going to do /self. Okay. So SwiftUI needs a unique identifier for each item in the list. But if we use the ID /.self, because each item is unique, so we're just going to reference itself there. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to leave this bracket here. We're going to add a brace, and we're going to say item in. Then on the next line here, we're going to say, there's going to be some space here, text, and then we're going to reference the item. Cool. We can also add a navigation title. So within our navigation kind of stacks here, we can just say .navigation title. We can give it some strings. So we can say learning topics. And you can see on the right side of the screen here, whatever we set the title to be, it's just going to have that be like the kind of title of our list here. So this simple list shows each item in our array as a separate row, and SwiftUI actually automatically makes it scrollable. So if you have a whole bunch of items, you can actually scroll through all of them. You can even grab on the preview here, click and hold to kind of simulate touchscreen, and you can see how it's already kind of scrollable. Pretty cool stuff. Cool, now let's create a new view to show more details when an item is tapped. So we'll use NavigationLink to actually navigate to this new view. So if you want to go ahead and in the bottom left, press the plus button and new file from template. I'm just going to use a SwiftUI view. If it's not there right away for you, I just need to search for it. SwiftUI view. And let's go ahead and call it DetailView. And essentially this is just going to hold all the details of our different list items within here. So let's go to our top here, and right under the structure, we'll say let topic. We'll say that's going to be a string. We can actually get rid of this text hello world here. We will have an error for a little bit until we actually put in something to the topic. If you remember from our bindings lesson, just when we have things in the preview, we just kind of have to often provide it with a little bit of a default or a fallback, but we'll get to that in just a moment here. So let's go ahead and make a v-stack. So a vertical stack. And let's add some text. I'll say text, and that would be the topic. So we want that to kind of be our headliner, and we'll grab that from the list, and we will say the font is maybe large title. Maybe we have the font weight. It can be bold. We could also add a little bit of padding here as well. Add another thing of text here, and we'll say here you can learn more about, and then we're going to interpolate our topic, so / brackets, and we'll put topic in there. Again, let topic be string. We're going to be grabbing that information from whatever list item that we do press upon. We can also, customize the font here. Let's have it be body, it's just going to be a decent amount of text. We can also, if there's a lot of text, we can set the multi-line text alignment. And let's have that be .center, just so any text will be centered here. And we can also add a little bit of padding as well. Cool. Why don't we also add a title, just like we did before. So let's exit this kind of brace here, and we'll say .navigation title, and let's just have it be the topic. Cool, and now before our preview is going to work, we do see that we do have an error within our preview, and essentially we just need to provide it with a default. So I'm actually going to press on this fix here, and it's going to say topic, and we just need to provide it with a string. We can just say topic. Now our preview should work. Might take a second to load, and because we haven't actually passed anything along, it's just going to say here you can learn more about topic, but of course we're going to be able to share that with the user. Let's also update our string. We'll just say in SwiftUI here. Cool. So our detail view is going to take a topic as a string parameter, which will represent the selected item from our list. Now let's link it with our list using the navigation link. So we're going to go back to our content view here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a navigation link, and we're going to add the destination, and we're going to pass along the topic as an item. So where we have our items in, just going to add another line underneath that. We're going to say navigation link. Okay. We're going to add a destination, and we're going to say that's going to, we're going to colon, and we're going to say that's going to be the detail view. And here we can, within our brackets, pass along any information that we want to. So we'll say it's going to be the topic, colon, and then we're going to say item. And then we're just going to add a brace here, and we'll just need to add another brace at the bottom here. So we do want to wrap in that title and that text here. Cool, now that we've updated that, you can see on our preview that we have our learning topics, and we can actually click on each and every one of these. So if we click on working with lists, it'll pass that along. It'll say working with lists. Here you can learn more about working with lists in SwiftUI. Same for navigation, as well as animations. So with that navigation link, each item in the list becomes tappable, taking us directly to DetailView and passing along the item's name. SwiftUI's navigation stack manages the entire navigation flow automatically. and it makes life a whole lot easier. So let's add a little bit more style to the detail view and we'll make it look even better. So let's go and first customize the list rows. And actually, you know, while we're still in our content view here, let's go ahead and change the background color here, and we can also change the foreground color. So I'm just going to go back so we can see our changes in real time here. And what we're going to do is under the items here, text item, we can add a little bit of padding. And we can also add the foreground style in order to kind of change the color. So this would be the color of the text. So let's do color dot blue maybe. Cool. And if we ever want to change the color of the background, we of course can as well. So let's go under here where our navigation title is, and we'll say list background, or sorry, list row background. And we're going to change that to have the color dot, let's try gray and see how that looks. That's a little bit hard to see. What pops off with blue? Let's see, green maybe? Still a bit hard to see. You know, let's make it green, but let's also change the opacity. So I'm going to say color.green.opacity. And we can set this to be a number, so we'll say 0.2, be a double, maybe 0.5. That looks a little bit better. Of course, you can use whatever colors you want. If you're looking at my UI, I'm like, man, he has an awful taste in color. I kind of do, okay. But of course, you can do anything you want with it. Let's now hop into our detail view here. We can make any other changes that we'd like. So maybe if we also want to add a background to our topic here, maybe what we'll do is we'll add some background color. So background, let's have that color be gray. And we can also add the opacity there. Opacity, we'll say that's 0.2. And let's also give it some corner radius. I do love a corner radius moment. And let's have that be 10. Looks a little bit more professional. We can also go down to our navigation title here. We can add some padding. And maybe for our navigational title, we'll also add a background color to that. And we'll have that be color.black, opacity. We'll set that to be maybe just 1. Oh, sorry, not 1, 0.1. Cool, and we've kind of added this nice little background. It doesn't look as bland. Of course, you can feel free to customize it any way you'd like. Let's also just go ahead and run our app in the simulator. And we can kind of see how this works. Thankfully, our preview does a pretty good job, especially when we do it from the content view, of kind of showing us how it functions. But we'll open up the simulator to see how it works on the phone. Just like we saw in the preview, we can click on SwiftUI Basics, kind of have our title here. You can learn more about SwiftUI Basics, press the back button. We can go to each one of these list items. They are all kind of their own entities here, and we can revisit it anytime we want. So maybe you're making a list with some different details about birds, right? You can pass that information along and customize your detail view however you'd like to. Totally up to you how you want to utilize these lists. I like to kind of use these lessons as templates so you can follow along, make the examples, and you can kind of draw the connections on how to add this to your projects or applications. Pretty cool stuff. But let's go ahead and now talk about tab bar views. So I'm just going to stop running our program here, and I'm going to create another Xcode project just so we have a little bit cleaner of a file to be working on. So I'm just going to go to new project, and I'm going to set it up the exact same way. And this time I'm going to call it SwiftUI tab bar. So a good example of the tab bar would be the clock app, if you've ever used it on your iPhone or iPad. where you kind of have those tab options at the very bottom of your screen, and those allow you to kind of navigate and bounce back and forth between the different views. So let's go ahead and learn about how we can add tab bars in Swift. So with our kind of example here, we can just get rid of our padding and our VStack. We won't really need it. Let's go ahead and add a tab view. We're going to add a brace, and here we're going to be able to initialize the different tabs and what they'll be. So we'll create one for home view. We'll add some brackets. We don't have anything we're going to be passing along within those brackets, and we can say dot tab item with a capital I. Gonna add another brace, and this is where we can customize things like the label and kind of the information about it. So we'll say label with a capital L, add some brackets, and let's go ahead and add the label to be home. Then we'll add a comma. We can also add an image, so we can say system image. If you have any custom images, you can feel free to add them here. And then we'll just say house.fill. So that should be, if you want to go find our symbols real quick, house. Yes, that is correct. Now it is going to give us an error because we don't have a home view Swift file yet, but we will be creating those. Let's go ahead and make another option, and we'll actually call it profile view. We'll be creating these views momentarily. We'll do the exact same thing, so dot tab item, add a brace, and we can add our label. And we'll call this one profile. Oops. Label, profile, system. I could have swore I put the other thing there. System image, we'll say, I think it's person.fill. And close that off. All right, again, we're gonna have a couple errors. Just gonna say, hey, I can't find profile view in scope. Totally fine. We're gonna go ahead and create those really quickly. Just gonna go to the bottom left, new file from template, SwiftUI view. Next, create our profile view. We'll just say, to your profile, just so we know what one we're on. We'll do the exact same thing for our home view. Home view. We'll change this to maybe say, welcome. Awesome. So this is going to essentially, allow us to transfer to and from. We can even see on our preview that we do kind of already have these two tabs at the very bottom here. So it says welcome home, and we can actually press on this tab and it says welcome to your profile. So what we can do is we can customize the images here. I don't know why this one isn't saying profile. That's a little interesting. On the tab bar at the bottom here. Home, profile. Interesting. Maybe it's too long. That was weird. It's working now. Maybe you just need to update the string where I had something incorrect, but it should always display whatever string you do have within the label there. Interesting. But we can see that we can kind of bounce back and forth between these views. Let's say we wanted to add one more just for practice. We'll go ahead and add a settings view. Exact same thing, dot tab, item, add a brace, hit return, label, call this one settings, comma, system image. I think we can use a gear. That would probably look good. Yeah, let's do the gear.circle.fill. So I'll say gear.circle.fill. And we'll go ahead and create from template SwiftUI view, and we'll call it settings view. We'll change this text to say, welcome to settings, right? Of course, when you actually build out these views, you can put, your actual content here. I'm just including that text so I know what, page I'm on. So let's go ahead and run this one in the simulator. We can kind of see how it works. We'll load into our content view here, and then we'll be able to click on each of the tabs in order to navigate smoothly between any of them. So for our home, we don't have to go to profile first. We can go to settings, right? Whatever tab that you do click on, you are able to navigate to the appropriate SwiftUI view. So maybe this would be your home, maybe have some information, some news. Your profile might have the user's profile on it, and the settings might have any app settings that they can change. You can feel free to use both tab bar and navigation controllers. You can use a mix of both. It is totally up to you and what makes sense for your app. But this is the very basic way of using tab view. As a rule of thumb, you should try to keep your tab views under 5. And I'll go ahead and show you why real quick. So what I've done here is I've added 6 separate items. We have home, profile, settings, leaderboard, game view, and finally online view. And it's a little bit clunky on the user interface here because now in order to access the games in online, it has made like just a little extra list thing, but it's a little bit annoying to kind of access. It puts it under this more tab. Whereas, it's pretty seamless to bounce between these two. If this is something you want to create and you really want to have, the extras kind of be under this more tab, you absolutely can. However, 5 is kind of like the maximum that I'd suggest. So let's go ahead and just comment off our online view here. And you'll see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that fit in this tab bar at the bottom of our screen here. So, I would generally keep it to 5 or lower when you are thinking of what you want to have on your tab bar navigation here. Okay, cool. If you want to change the kind of highlight color here, we can see by default it's blue. We can actually change the accent color. So let's go down and we'll kind of exit our tab view here. So we can see if you double click on this brace near the bottom, kind of highlights everything that's in the tab view. And what we can do is we can say dot accent color. And from here we can define a color. So if we were to set this to purple, we'll see that whatever we have selected is now purple. You can of course make it any color you'd like, but this modifier kind of changes the color of the selected item. That's it for our tab bar navigation in SwiftUI. We set up the basic tab layout using TabView, added those extra sections, and tested it within the simulator. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more SwiftUI tutorials. But until next time, dream big and code bigger. Take care.